I'm 15 years old and live with family. I'm usually home alone due to the fact that my family is always working. When this first started, I was home alone like normal and showering while playing music. My sister was supposed to come home early, so when I heard knocks on the bathroom door, I thought it was my sister. I said, "Yeah? What happened?" No reply. I was a bit confused, but thought she just knocked and simply walked away. Until the second knock. I put my music volume down to hear if she had anything to say. I didn't hear anything, and I started to get irritated. A few minutes later, it wasn't even a knock anymore, just pure slamming at my door. I put my volume all the way down because I thought my sister didn't like my music, but I was pissed. I finished my shower quickly and stormed out to ask her why the hell she was banging on my door. I walked around the house and I was home alone. She got home 2 hours later. I asked her if she got home 2 hours ago, and she said no, and asked me why I was asking. I never told her why, because I didn't want to scare her. Also, I told my friends about it, and they said that in total, there were 3 knocks, so it must have been a ghost. I'm not too sure. What do you guys think? So this has been nagging me for the past couple of weeks now, and I wanted to share this story. So when I was 7, I did karate on Monday nights with my little sister, and afterwards my dad would always take us to go get McDonald's. It was one of those nights, and I was looking down when I suddenly had an urge to look up at the right side window that was right above me. When I looked up, I saw an old lady looking into the window, staring at me. When I realized she was staring at me, I screamed. This got my dad's attention, and he asked what was wrong. And I responded that there was an old lady staring at me through my passenger seat window. And he looked over and saw her. That's just about when we were getting our food, and my dad pulled out of there really quickly. The weird thing is, though, she started following us, and when we got onto the main road, she turned back around and went back to her car. This is where it gets a little weird. The next day on the bus, I tell all my friends what happened to me the previous night, like it was no big deal. How my sister and I made jokes referencing it for years, until a few weeks ago, when I thought about how weird it really was, because she was at least a couple of cars behind us, so if she needed car help, why come to our car? And why come stare at me instead of going and asking my dad for help? When I was 10, I was friends with these 2 girls. I'll call them Maria and Caitlin. Me and Maria went to visit Caitlin's house for a sleepover, and we camped out on the roof for the night. We stayed in a tent. Nobody slept that well, and we were all pretty tired the next day. She has a really big house with a roof garden, which is where we camped out. And the next day we decided to play hide and seek. Me and Maria ran up to the roof and hid behind a wall that was right in front of the stairs. When we hid there, we couldn't see the stairs. I'm pretty unfit, and so the adrenaline and running was making me breathe really hard. Maria told me to be quiet, just as someone started to climb up the stairs. We were convinced we'd been found, so I held my breath, and we both stayed as quiet as possible. All we heard was the beanbag from the tent rustle. Then the person went back down the stairs. We assumed that we got lucky, or it was just Caitlin's parents going to clear up the tent and were getting a beanbag. Our spot was pretty obvious, so we knew we would be caught immediately. Soon after, we heard someone come up the stairs again, so we went silent. But nothing happened. Nobody found us, but nobody went back down the stairs either. After that, there were more sounds of somebody climbing the stairs, but nobody went down. Me and Maria were both terrified, so we checked the roof. Nobody was there. We both tried to look over the wall when we heard the stairs to catch whoever it was, but we never saw anyone. Caitlin eventually found us, and we immediately told her what had happened. Keep in mind that we'd gone straight to the roof really quickly and didn't move or change spots. She then said that she'd checked our spot multiple times and nobody was there. She could have been lying, but that doesn't explain what happened with the stairs. This happened when I was 11, and my sister was babysitting me because my parents were going out. After I'd gone to bed, my sister went into my room to check on me. Sometimes I remember random, strange details that's really random and insignificant. My bed is a bunk bed, so I usually read at night without being detected. My parents don't bother climbing the ladder to check on me. I've been doing this since I was a little kid, so I've developed a habit of fake sleeping whenever someone comes in automatically. That's what I did when my sister came in. I vividly remember my foot being underneath my mattress that was giving under the weight of what I assumed was my sister's knee. She left a few minutes later. The next morning, my sister asked if I knew she'd checked on me. I said I did, and that I'd been fake sleeping at the time. She didn't believe me, so I told her about the memory. She then told me that she'd checked on me by standing on the chair for my desk under my bed, so she hadn't climbed my ladder or touched my mattress. But something did. I was probably 7 or 8 when this happened, so this definitely could have been my imagination or a dream I had mistaken for reality. My great-grandmother lived next door to me, and my cousin lived up the road, so it wasn't uncommon for us to play together and visit my great-grandma. One day, some family came to visit my great-grandma, so me and my cousin were playing outside while the adults sat on the porch and talked. My cousin and I started to get thirsty, so we walked in to get a drink and some chips to snack on. My cousin walked over to the sink to wash her hands, while I grabbed the drinks. I started to walk over to wash my hands when I saw movement in the living room. I knew everyone was outside, so I looked over to see what moved, and I saw a shadowy figure against the wall looking at me. The figure then walked into my great-grandfather's room. There weren't any big windows or anything that would allow a shadow like that, so I don't have an explanation for this. I don't know if I believe in ghosts, but I don't know what it could have been. Honestly, I've had a few paranormal experiences I can remember growing up, and it's hard to choose just one, but this one sticks out for me. I think because once I opened up about what I saw, it was confirmed by the owners of the house where I saw it. I was a senior in high school, and one of my friends' homes was a very popular spot for parties, as her parents were well off, and normally on cruises or something Well, they left the kids at home. The parties were always pretty well the same: music, beer, games, etc. Although I was never a huge drinker, I always just wanted to hang out with friends and not get wasted. And as a result, I was always the only coherent one as the night reached the morning hours. The layout of the main floor was circular, and by that I mean the foyer connected to the sitting room on the left. The sitting room connects to the dining room, which connects to the kitchen, which walks through to the living room, which connects back to the foyer. So from the living room you can see into the dining room through a doorway and into the sitting room at the same time, with the central wall of the main floor obscuring your view between them. This is important to describe how I saw what I saw. This particular night, as the party died down and most attendees left, it was just our core group of friends that were left at the house, 6 or 7 of us. And at about 2 a.m. or so, we decided to put a movie in and all fall asleep while watching it to end the night. 20 minutes or so into the movie, there was only 3 of us left awake, and this is when I saw it. I was sitting on the floor in front of the couch, watching the movie. To my right was the kitchen, which led into the dining room, and I felt like I saw something moving through the kitchen, so I turned my head to see what it was, and I saw what looked like an extremely tall, thin man, like head scraping the ceiling tall, with elongated limbs, not unlike the depictions of Slender Man, walk past the doorway in the living room, heading in the direction of the sitting room. I lost sight of him, when he walked behind the wall, past the other side of the doorframe, so I sat up to get a better look at the doorway of the sitting room, which was the direction he was heading, and a second or 2 later, he crossed the sitting room doorway, only this time he was crawling on his hands and knees. I didn't know what was happening, so I froze and kept staring at the doorframe long after he disappeared behind the adjacent wall of the sitting room. When I decided to look away, my 2 friends who were still awake were staring at me. One asked what I was looking at, which I didn't really answer. I brushed it off like maybe my eyes were playing tricks on me, considering it was super late and that side of the house was dark. Despite this, I told my friend, whose house it was, a few days later at school what I saw, and she thought it pretty creepy. But the kicker was, a week or so later, she came up to me at school to tell me she told her parents what I had seen that night, and in her words, their faces went white and wide-eyed. And she proceeded to tell me that they told her they both have seen a tall man in their home lurking around. Okay, so I've been suffering from sleep paralysis for a couple of years, and it's been fairly tame up until recently, shortly after my dad's death, who died in early September. It's changed and become far more vivid and terrifying. I am aware that stress, anxiety, and grief can all be factors in triggering or enhancing the problem. I always know when it's coming. I sleep on my side, and when it starts, a low pressure starts from my shoulder down to my chest. Usually it would be the odd moving shadow, or a loud bang, or a whispering kind of voice would follow. Scary, but not terrifying. And I kind of got used to it after a while. Recently, it's gotten really bad. Okay, the first time it changed, I'm lying on my side, looking out across my room. The normal pressure on the side starts. I glance over to the center of the room, and there is something crouched there. As I try to make out any distinctive features, it bolts and dives under my bed. All I know is it moved on all fours and looked humanoid. One time, a withered hand appeared and violently tried to grasp at my face. Another time, I saw nothing, but heard a low female whispery voice behind me, saying, "You're not gonna make it," and giggling. Then came the most recent one. This was a month ago. I got home from a busy day at work and lied down. As I did, that same pressure. I wasn't exactly in the mood for this. I just wanted to rest and not see terrifying stuff. So I kind of struggled against it, trying to force myself awake. Big mistake, because it just made it a lot worse. I looked up into the center of my room, and there it was. It was tall, thin, shoulder-length hair, gaunt, with blood-red skin, and its eyes had this weird, luminous look to them, like a light as it's slowly going out. I could tell it was female by the build of its body, but I could be wrong. But this thing was angry. It started walking towards me, shaking its head while doing so rapidly. It became impossible to tell if it had 2 eyes or 4, and was screaming in anger at me. It sounded like a cat being tortured. The dream ended when it reached me. The most recent time was this week. I had a long, busy week. A couple of days ago, I crashed out. I had multiple hands reaching for my face this time, and that same female voice appeared at the same time, almost in a dismissive, almost mocking way. I've had many people carve my names in their chest. I have zero idea what that means. Trust me, I've looked. Turns out, if this isn't my mind trying to mess with me, then the Red Lady creature likes being cryptic about who she is. If anyone has come across that in folklore, or just in general, I would like to know. I'm pretty sure it's stress-related, but I'd be interested to know if there's anything else to it. Like I've read something somewhere and forgotten. Thank you.